My name is Scott Beck. I am the head trading coach here at Tradespoon. I will be your host for this active investor workshop presentation. I have been trading for a little over 20 years now, and I have been teaching and coaching, mentoring for about 16 or 17 of them. I do need to specifically remind you that trading, and options in particular, can involve substantial risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Please read characteristics and risks of standardized options at some point prior to investing in them, or if you're already investing in them and you've never read that document, I highly recommend you do it. A lot of good information in there about options. Evaluate any strategy prior to use to understand risk and suitability. You must be aware of the risks, be willing to accept them in order to trade in these markets. Tradespoon and myself are not investment advisors. We're not registered with the SEC or FINRA. It should not be assumed that future trade picks will be profitable or will equal past performance. The information in this presentation is provided solely for general education and information purposes. Any strategies discussed, including examples using actual securities and price data, are strictly for illustrative and educational purposes. In order to simplify the math, commissions, fees, margin, interest, and taxes have not been included in the examples used in this presentation. Those costs will impact the outcome of your results and should be considered. Lastly, I and/or the team at Tradespoon may have a financial interest in the securities presented and the trade picks. Okay. Hello, Phil. Good to see you. Thank you for letting me know. Howdy. Is that you, Bob? Good evening, Josephine. Thank you for saying hello. Good to see you. Let's jump right in and let's talk about what we mean when we say contrarianism, right? Contrarianism. You hear that phrase somewhat frequently when it comes to, investing mindsets. So contrarians, what does that mean? It means when everyone else is thinking buy, you're thinking sell. If everyone else is thinking sell, you're thinking buy. It's basically going against what may seem like conventional wisdom, right? It may seem like conventional wisdom. And I say seem because that's what we're saying, is we're saying even though it looks like maybe people are thinking one way, we're thinking about going the other way. So, sorry, I got a new microphone stand thing and forgot to tighten the rest of it. So it just fell off on me. I had to adjust it. Okay, let's dive in. What are the things that can help us with contrarianism? So I have a list of some stocks that we are thinking about. I want to use these as examples. So the thought process is if everybody else is buying, maybe we should sell. If everybody else is selling, maybe we should buy. Today, we took profit on a trade I'd like to use as an example. This was a trade from Square. We took a trade on Square right there on that day. In fact, I would say that in this regard, it was somewhat contrarian on the entry. It's not contrarian with the trend. I want to make that very, very clear. Some people, when they think about a contrarian trend, they think about calling the top of an uptrend or calling the bottom of a downtrend. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm talking about the short-term momentum. So for example, as we look at Square, you'll notice we had 3 days of selling, 1, 2, 3, creating this little downward channel, and then we entered when they finished. When the sellers are done, we expected the buyers will start to come back in. Ultimately, we were right, but that was the thought process. Now, if we look at the model, the Tradespoon model, which aided us in our decision, you can see here that we got this for our entry. What's going to help me be contrarian? If I have a model that says, even though we've had 3 red days, we do have the trend in our favor, broadly speaking, and we have a prediction set to go up. Now, when we took the prediction, our prediction was showing a little bit better than this, and you'll notice that now, all of a sudden, our prediction has turned sideways. So we said to ourselves, well, actually, I spoke for the group when I said, it looks like I'm hitting some resistance, both from a price model and from price action. So if you notice here, we draw this line across and we say we're hitting resistance. What's going to help us decide if a stock's going to go through resistance or hit resistance and start to bounce back down? Well, I look at volume, and as I look at the volume, I see 4 days of decreasing volume as it went up towards this old resistance. So now as I start to put together, right, when you're trading, you want to think a little bit like a lawyer to some extent, right? When a lawyer, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove, first of all. So with trading, I'd hear people say, oh, I knew it was going up. I knew it was going up, or I know this is going higher. It's not what you know, it's what you can trade or what you're willing to trade. So for me to be willing to trade, for me to have the ability to trade something, I need to have risk, I need to have reward, I need to have expectations of price action in a certain direction. Those are the things that are very important for me to have what I need to ultimately build a trade. So when we say contrarian, really, I'm just looking to follow my rules more than anything else. That's the most important thing I'm looking to do, is follow my rules. But my rules are saying, I want to catch this when I believe that A, buyers are in control. So you can see we overwhelmingly have a bullish trend in place. B, I want to see a consolidation that says, here's the sellers testing the waters. Now you'll notice as the sellers tested, they dropped in volume too, which is what led me to think that the selling was ending at this support, old resistance, new support. I have old resistance, new support. I have the model giving me an expectation that we're going to bounce from here. And I said, I'm going to take the trade. And we jumped in. Now, we were hoping to catch something like this, but all of a sudden today, we noticed for the second day in a row, we're bumping our heads here at resistance. So what do we have? We have buying, 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 5 buying days in a row. And I'm saying to myself, maybe I should get out. Maybe I should get out and take some profits. Why? Well, because I think it's resistance by price hitting the same level. The volume is showing me that the buyers aren't pushing to get through. And again, I have this price model that says this thing at best is going to run sideways. So why not take my profit, book the trade, move on to the next trade? And I want to do this over and over and over and over and over again, right? So you can see that we used the model and price action to help us get in right when we thought the sellers were done, and we're getting out right when we think the buyers are done. Now, of course, there's risk with that. Of course there is. Of course, there's times we get in a little too soon. Of course, there's times we get out a little too early. Low volume does not also mean that the sellers do not want to sell. That's exactly what helped us to get into the trade. We got in when the volume was decreasing as evidence for my case, for my trade. Diminishing volume on the selling tells me that it's not got a lot of selling strength. The sellers are likely to dissipate and the buyers are going to come in and start buying this thing up. So I had enough evidence to put the trade on. Now, of course, more of the evidence is set a stop, set a target, have a favorable reward to risk ratio. Well, I did that. I had that. And the next thing that I have now is the opposite of that. The exact same information that helped us to buy in at support right at what we thought was the bottom of 3 selling days is exactly the same information we used to think that we are at resistance at the end of 5 buying days, so that we can get out, take our profit, and move on. Let me show you some other examples. TSM, another one where we took some profit. Why only some profit? Because here I have price action that says, now I'll tell you a funny story about this. No volume. Can you guys hear me right now? Testing, testing. Yes, you can? Okay. Sorry. I had one person tell me no volume. Maybe he meant no price volume. That could be true. So here I got out. We got into this trade. I think we got in way back on this day here, I want to say. It pulled back and turned, and then it dropped and just was fluctuating, and then boom, we caught this pop. And I actually exited the trade literally almost right at the high for the day. And then the next day it dropped down, and I'm thinking how smart I am, and then it went up, and then boom. And so actually people who stayed in a little longer than me made a little bit more money. But even still, on this trade, I only sold half. I actually had 7 contracts. So now let's talk about an in-between strategy. I had 7 contracts, and I see this stock, and it went up, boom. But I had that doji that said, okay, it didn't hold on to the highs. What does the next day do? Opened at the high and sold off. Now I have an engulfing pattern. Now I'm thinking that's it as far as that goes. And it's going to start to come back down. However, I look at the model. I look at the model, and the model says this thing's going to the moon. And I'll tell you, there's been times where the model has told me something was going to the moon. I'm like, there's no way it's going to go that high. There's no way that's going to happen. And then, sure enough, bingo, bango, it's up there. I want to give it a chance. So what did I do? I sold 4. Or maybe I sold 3. One side or the other of half. I sold 4. I kept 3. I tightened the stop, and I said, let's see if this thing can make a run. Right? Beautiful. I booked a gain. Remember that the first trade was back in this area back here. We got in somewhere around here. I can't remember exactly when. And then we caught it. And then we're thinking this thing could keep on going. So take some profit, keep some. Let's see what happens. When it comes to being contrarian, you absolutely do not have to commit to being a complete contrarian on one side or the other. By that, what I mean is I can be a contrarian with half of the trade, right? I think, oh, that's the top. Well, if I sell it at the top, or what I think is the top, and it keeps going higher, I might regret that I closed all of it. So what can I do? I can keep some. Or if it starts to drop, I can keep some. Now, I didn't keep any on Square. I kept half on TSM. The other trade that we're working in our trading room is Tesla. And you can see Tesla has a very nice looking forecast. We actually did not take the trade here. We waited for one more day of confirmation. We saw this confirmation and this prediction. We said that looks pretty good. And now it's saying that it might consolidate, and it did. It consolidated a little to start the day, but now it's looking to continue moving higher. So looking to hang on to the trade and you can see if I look at TSLA, this looks very strong. We got in here on the confirmation. We didn't take this one, so it wasn't pure, right? We got in a little confirmation, and then it starts moving higher. Now, you might think, well, isn't this a good environment for contrarian? Well, remember some of the things that we've talked about. It's actually higher today than it was yesterday, so it got to a new high today. We also talked about, right, this one didn't engulf, it pushed higher. It started lower, then pushed higher. We talked about volume. And if you look down here, that looks like momentum volume. That looks like continuation volume. That looks like volume that we would expect to continue moving higher. So when I have a model predicting higher, and I have a chart that looks like it has high momentum, rather than this one, I just said, I'm going to tighten the stop. Move my stop here, then here, then here, then here, and let's just see what happens. And if this thing can make one of these big runs, that's what we would love to catch, moving our stop up the entire way and making a big, big profit on it. Okay, right? That's one trade. Then we have TSM. Now, if all of a sudden on Tesla, it starts to slow down, the volume starts to drop, then I might start reevaluate and say, now, right, contrarian is not just like, oh, I'm going to go against everybody else because I'm like that. That's not what being a contrarian is. That's saying, is there something that we see that bucks conventional wisdom where we say, yeah, I see it's going higher. However, I also see that it faded off its high and that the volume has dropped below average. What does that say for the buyers? It says they're losing their ability to push the stock higher, right? So it's not just be a contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian. It's saying, hey, what subtle signs can we pick up on that says this is resistance? Let's get out now rather than waiting for it to drop. Well, at the very least, I can get out of half. That way, if it does keep going higher, because we know it sometimes does, you still have half your trade on. And if it does start to drop, you've already booked some gains. You can now get rid of the rest of it, and you can finish closing out the trade. And then the last trade was the square trade. And on the square trade, these are all three bullish stocks. They're all bullish in their trends. They all made bullish moves, but they're all subtly just a little different. So I hope that you're picking up on those subtleties and nuances between these three trades. If not, I feel like this is pretty important stuff. So if not, ask questions, clarify. Let's make sure you feel comfortable with what it is you're seeing and what it is that leads us to make our decisions. I make good sense. Well, thank you, Phil. I appreciate that, my friend. I appreciate that. So this last one is where we said, I'm going to take the whole profit now. My volume dropped significantly. I'm hitting the same resistance for the second time. The sellers have already tested this thing a little bit and the buyers held on, but for me, not by much. So that's one where I feel like, okay, sell at the high, book your gain, live with it. I'll live with it. I already have some other bullish trades if the market moves higher tomorrow, and that's absolutely what I'm expecting, right? That's absolutely what I'm expecting. Then that's what we're looking for. Now, why am I expecting that? So here's what I want to do for the rest of this presentation, right? I like when these things are just live, real time. Let's look at what we're actually thinking is setting up for trades. So again, when I think contrarian, I don't think, oh, I'm going to go find a stock that's been dropping, and I'm going to call the very bottom, or I'm going to call the top. That's not at all what I'm doing. I'm looking to find subtle things that buck conventional wisdom that allow me to get in just a little sooner, allow me to hang on just a little longer, take profits just a little better, and just improve things overall. Right? So I don't want you to think contrarian is like, oh, I'm smarter than the market. I'm not. I know that. You cannot be smarter than something that's always right. The market's always right. All I can do is be smart enough to be humble, to be fluid and flexible and adaptive in my analysis and my processes, and make the best possible decision with the information I have at hand. Okay, so let's talk about new trades then that we're taking in today's trading. We took a new trade on Sun Power. I actually took a little position here and added to my own personal position, but it was new for the trading room because we don't meet on Mondays. But I was waiting for this to consolidate, the sellers to finish. What are we doing? Sellers, 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 sellers. Volume diminishing and below average. Support, turn. Beautiful. Today, confirmation. Anything past today, I'm chasing. I got to get in on those first 2 days, right? I like the first day better, but it's still a little uncertain because it's still kind of hanging out down at the lows. Today definitely gave us confirmation that the buyers were coming in. You come down here, you see that the volume started to pick up today with that buying day. Everything is good there. The trend overall was up. What type of a position do I put on trying to capture a big move? I'll still do like a fairly aggressive, at the money bull put spread. I mean, look at the volatility on this thing. It's around 98%. I'm not buying options at 98%. So I definitely did a bull put spread on this. And it's a trade that I got 3-1 with no time. 4-1 if I can stay in it for a while. That's nice. Right? The trend is in favor. Obviously, the sector's in favor. There's a bit of political motivation to this with the administration. So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to call the bottom, not of a trend, but the bottom of a swing. That's what I'm trying to call. Or that's what I'm trying to call. Sometimes you might try to catch it here and it moves a little bit and then falls apart. Fine. Fine. Try to catch it again and hope that you stay in and you don't get jiggled out by volatility. That's all we can do. Do we have a system that we think can catch this next move if that's what's coming? That's what I'm looking for. How do I do that? I want to catch it at or near support, uptrend at support. If I had to describe for you in as few words as possible my thought process, I'm going to describe it as uptrend at support. 4 words. Let's see if you can beat that for a bullish setup. Can anyone describe a bullish setup in 3 words? How about buy low? That doesn't count. Someone was going to say it. I know it. I preempted you. Let's go look at the model. SPWR. Go to the model. Now, the model was less enthusiastic about this one. Sideways, and I took it. Why? As long as it wasn't bearish necessarily, my thought process is, and I know that this is how it works, if I get through these 3 days here, this will fall off. So if this starts to turn up, this will whip up, and this will turn for me. So in this case, I did not have the confirmation of the model, but I definitely have the sector. I definitely have the sector, and I definitely have the price action. So that's SPWR. The other one we looked at today, a retail stock, retail consumer services has been in favor. This one, I bucked the trend. Eyes wide open, I bucked the trend. The model said it was going down. I am trading it for earnings. I don't often trade through earnings, but this is Costco. Retail has been pretty strong. Costco is a pretty strong stock overall. You can see the trend looks good. We hit a new high a few days ago. It pulled back. The selling diminished and then turned today. And I have 3 days before earnings, and I'm going to hold through earnings. There's not a lot of vol, and we don't gap a lot on Costco earnings. So I feel comfortable with it. If it turns around, I'll stop out of it. But if it can continue, I'm going to hold through. Again, catching it right as it starts to turn. Yeah, and again, is that trading room free to premium members? I can't remember. That's a great question. I think so. Maybe not. Does anybody know? I think it is. I should probably know that, right? Live trading rooms. Where's the trading room? Oh, hell yeah, it is. Jump on in. Oh, not the afternoon session. The morning session is. I'm only on Friday mornings. The afternoon is the elite or something like that. Elite Trading Circle. That's the afternoon one. Sorry. Mornings, yes. Vlad in the mornings, Monday through Thursday. Scott on Fridays. I bring the party to the trading room. And then the afternoon is the Elite Circle. That's me Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So, okay. Good questions. Those are trades that we have been in and are managing, taking profits, managing stops, holding the trades. Those are new trades that we're looking at. Now let's look at some setups, right? Why not? What else do you have to do? What else do you have to do today? Probably not much. I'm putting up security cameras. I told the trading room this. My house got egged. I have a teenage daughter. I'm sure that someone around her has something to do with it. I'm suspicious of all of them, but I'm getting the security cameras up. So, okay, let's see. I wrote down some stocks that I thought to myself look pretty good. Let's go through a few of them. Caterpillar. It's close. That's not much of a consolidation, but sometimes we don't get much of a consolidation. The sellers opened the door over the last 2 days. Here's some old resistance. Look at your selling volume just drop off fast. If this thing starts to turn, looking for it to move higher. I want to buy into the selling, right? I want to buy into the selling. It's seller's weakness, selling weakness that entices me into wanting to trade. Here is Caterpillar on the model. So here you can see the model, it says neutral. That looks bullish, right? That's saying that when this pullback is done, and it's going to bounce, and that's what we're saying. Can't see the graph. Can you see this? Can you guys see my Tradespoon? Tell me if you can see my Tradespoon. Let me know. Can you see it? Yes or no? Stay or go? Yes. Okay. You should be able to see the Tradespoon predictive model for Caterpillar. So Caterpillar for me is knocking on the door. It is ready to be a trade. And if you were feeling a bit anticipatory, or if you were in one of these 2 days here and you saw this coming, you might go ahead and jump in. Contrarian without confirmation versus contrarian with a bit of confirmation. Caterpillar, beautiful setups there. Just waiting. Now it's just a matter of how much confirmation do you want. Every trader is just a little bit different. So, those of you not in the trading room, you may not realize, but it's National Brownie Day. So go out and celebrate and get a brownie. It goes great with coffee. Okay, what's next? My notes from the trading room are a little bit off. I believe I liked DocuSign next. So for Caterpillar, you could buy now while IV is down and maybe buy a call. Great question. You guys know I love when we get high-level option discussions in my rooms. That's the expectation. My answer to you, yes. Absolutely, right? We're at as low as we've seen post-pandemic. I would imagine it was lower pre-pandemic, right? It got down here even into the 20s. So it could come a little further, but yes, I think if you prefer buying options, you definitely could put that on. So someone said, if you're looking to swing for the fences a little bit more, a little bigger move, what could you do? Well, if I have cheap options, I'm going to buy it and swing for something quick and fast and big. So I think you could. I think that door is open for that on Caterpillar. Okay. What's next? DocuSign is another one that I like. DocuSign, you have to be careful because there's a lot of tech and work from home stocks that have done this, and all the Robinhood fever says, I want this going up. And it's turned sideways, but some of them for me are starting. Look at the width of this channel, right? They're starting to go again. Just had earnings. Earnings were good. Coming back down. Again, what do I have? I have 3 days of selling on diminishing volume. Yes? On diminishing volume. I have a doji after a selling day. What does that say? It says the sellers have gone undecided. Now I come in here. I put together this with the model. Oh, son of a gun. So the model says a kick, but only a little bit of a kick, right? But only a little bit of a kick. So I think that actually, even though this says red, we're past that. We've seen this thing find this candle here and now starting to this. And I actually think this is fine because it's showing me this turn. And if it starts to go strong enough, it's going to wag this tail a little bit higher. So I'm fine with that. I am absolutely fine with that. DocuSign. What are we trying to do? We're trying to call when this is over. Not quite yet. It still could come even down here, right, to 224 or so, but it's getting close. So I'm not saying I'm a buy on this one. I'm saying, remember, we looked at trades that are on, how we got into them, how we started to take profit, tighten stops, scale out, etc. Then we looked at trades that we just put on, confirmed signals, showing the momentum out of the contrarian pullback. Now we're looking at setups. Well, this does not mean it's a trigger. This is a setup. What's the trigger? I have to have that piece of information that tells me the selling's done. Whether I get it from the model, whether I get it from the candle, the price action, I need something here to help me distinguish that. But I like it. It's knocking on the door. Next one. This is one we've traded a couple times and done very well with. Actually, this is not. This is a different stock completely, but I don't know what this is, but I like it. I don't know what this is, but I like it. CE or CX on a pullback. This is a beautiful stock right here, man. This is a free discovery. Thank you, or you're welcome for CX. Now let's go look at FCX. Still looks pretty good though. Same thing, right? Our trend has accelerated. This is not the trend we're working on now, right? The trend we're working on now seems to have accelerated beyond this angle. So if this is going to hit and bounce higher, I want to trade it. Eventually, is it going to slow back down? Sure. The video's automatic, Henry. I don't do anything. It just sort of processes itself and shows up, but it should be there available to you tonight, or to you tonight. Okay. So that same thing here, right? And if we go look at the model on this, what's going to help you to determine that the sellers are down and the buyers come in? Well, that's nice right there, right? Just a little turn. How do I know if it's going to be a little turn or a bigger turn? Well, that's showing up. Give me a little momentum tomorrow, and we are off to the races. Let's look at a couple more. We might not go the full hour, but we'll get a few more stocks in. Another one that I was looking at is Tilray, pot stock. Right? We got an initial surge right around the election, and then it came back down. It doesn't have to stay on that trajectory. This trajectory right here is fine, right? This is fine. I can live with this. It bounces here, makes a run up towards 1050 or so. It's knocking on the door. A little bit of a turn is all I need, and maybe even starting to anticipate this. How would I start to anticipate this? I come into the model, I pull up Tilray, and I say, give me some info. Is it looking ready to go? Yes. It's not phenomenal, but it's bullish, 4%. It's saying that we're going to bounce up at least to the old highs. I was hoping 10.5. This says only maybe 9 and change. I think we could definitely see some acceleration here, though, right? Now, if you look through your watch list, there's more, right? Some of them, let me see. These are other ones. ADM's turned a little sideways. Chewy, this is a nice, strong stock, but they report earnings. In fact, they reported earnings, and they're down $1 after hours. So let's wait and see if it consolidates back to 70 coming out of earnings, and then buy at the selling point that it hits this level. I'm going to be patient with that. DKNG. That one was coming down, and then boom, popped out of nowhere. Someone said Apple. Let's take a look at Apple, AAPL. So Apple looks like it, that's a tough one. It went up and it pulled back for 2 days and started to go up. You could look at that as a new signal, but it's also kind of bumping some resistance. That's a tough one. You'll notice that I'm using multiple tools. I'm looking at these charts. I'm looking at my support and resistance levels, my candlesticks. I'm looking at volume. I'm looking at the hike or the model, the Tradespoon model. I look at Heikin-Ashi candles, all to try to do what? To try to catch the best transitionary signals. What kind of transition? Transitioning from sellers to buyers. Sellers to buyers. Please do a deep dive on GSX. Deal. We'll do one last deep dive. Ask your questions now, but here's what you're thinking. Support and resistance. Where do the sellers stop selling and the buyers come in? Where do the buyers stop buying and the sellers come in? And then go from there. GSX. What do I have here? GSX. So GSX, for me, struggling, right? Beautiful coming out of the May, June, July, August, just 25 up to 140. Everything's up 600%. And then we dropped and we gave back half of it almost. And then we rallied up, and then we rolled over and we sold off considerably again. So right now the buyers are really struggling, right? They made a good run at the old high here and here. And then some kind of news happened, and it's just ever since then, we're not getting more than 2 days, 3 days in a row. Very minimal when you look at the volume. Very minimal when you look at the volume. However, we do seem like we see something developing in here. If I was in a short, I would be very concerned not to let this happen. Would love to see this happen. And you can see I'm always kind of thinking not just about the breakout, but the retest and what it means relative to the trend going forward from that. I would say I'm definitely more bearish than anything on this thing, right? The trend right now seems to be moving along this type of a pattern. There's some gaps here or there. Let's see what the model says, and then we'll. Someone said Amazon. We'll take a quick peek. We still have a little bit of time. A little bit of time before I go get on a ladder. I have one egg that I don't have a tall enough ladder for. I got to get like a 26-foot ladder to get up top of the damn gable in my house. Pissing me off. Amazon looks like it wants to pop and then flat according to the model. Let's take a look. Some of you might be thinking, Scott, do you think everybody here wants to know about your eggs? And I'm thinking, of course you all do. Of course you do. No hesitation. I know that you do. Sideways for me on Amazon. Yeah, there you go, Bob. Butterfly, iron condor. We're starting to see a bunch of these grinders through here. And you have, the outer edges. Oops, and the outer edges. So I 100% agree. I wouldn't trade anything bullishly. I think you could definitely look to iron condor, butterfly. The volatility is really, I don't know, kind of in the middle. I would definitely say something neutral. How do I clean egg? A bucket full of hot water with some laundry detergent and a stiff brush on the ladder, and I get up there and scrub the stucco. It's not great. And I'm definitely looking to catch the guy, without a doubt. My little dog too, Tank, 125-pound bull mastiff. He and we'd like to catch that person very much for a conversation. Oh, my son is in college in Ghana. We think we escaped it with him, but my daughter still has 2.5 years of high school. So we're like, oh, we better get these cameras up. Ask any questions. You guys see what we're trying to do. I'm not trying to be a contrarian on a stock that's not moving. What am I contrarian to? It's not moving. So if you see stocks that are just kind of grinding sideways, something neutral or nothing at all, find the momentum, trade the momentum. When you find the momentum, when you find that the bulls are in control, wait for the sellers. And when the sellers try and fail, you've got your transition over and over and over and over again. Use the tools that help. The Tradespoon model, such a beautiful way to confirm support and resistance and momentum. And you might say, but Scott, I saw that you broke the rule and you traded when that was predicted down. Yeah, I did. I sometimes will. There you go. Okay, well, no, that's bought some FCX, not much of a pullback. I know, man. Right? I know. That stock's a freight train, and we have to recognize when we have freight trains, how much pullback do we even think we're going to get? Right? We had a pullback on Tesla. Someone's like, "Oh, are you going to chase it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to chase it. That's all it's going to give me." Oh yeah. Thank you very much. I'm glad you thought it was excellent, and definitely take advantage of your lifetime premium membership. Come join us for this stuff, man. We got some good stuff for you. Sellers want to bring the price up and buyers want to bring it cheap as possible. So I'm confused. It's not really what they want, but what they're waiting for, right? When you think about what's happening when the stock pulls back, you're thinking, is that a change or is that just some profit taking? Is that just right? And so if it's just profit taking easily turns back into the trend. So that's the thing, is think about the sentiment behind the transition, what we're trying to catch. And I think that will help you as well. So, hey, we have got some good stocks on our watch list. Keep an eye on those. Join me in 2 weeks. I will be back in 2 weeks. I have no idea what we're talking about. I don't even like to look at it until a half an hour before. I didn't know what this presentation was even about until 30 minutes ago. And then I was having a cup of coffee, and then we dive in. I think it's better. I really like it. I like it. I think when we wing it, we get into some good things, and we go where the market takes us, right, for that presentation. So, but if you guys disagree, let me know, because it's for you, not for me. Anyways, it's good to see everybody. We used to do these once a week, but now only every other. So make sure you come. Well, we'll be back in a fortnight, not next week, but the week after. That puts us right before Christmas, the week of Christmas. So join me for the Christmas presentation, the Christmas edition or the winter solstice edition of the Active Investor Workshop series. Yeah, same to everybody else. If I don't see you, happy holidays all month long. Be festive, have fun, eat, drink, and be merry. I hope I can see you. If you're in the trading room, I'll see you tomorrow. If you're coming back for the Active Investor, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Stay safe out there. And as always, happy trading.